Technologies. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are heading toward to the end of 2024 and prepare for going on to 2025. Um, Came a little bit late today because of technology. Again, when it comes to technology, changes, things that changes and things that unpredictable happens, right? Hello, Michael. Good to see you. Hope you had a really good, restful weekend.
I certainly did, Julie. Good to see you as always. Yeah,
Yes,
I love weekends.
yes, me too. It's so good for us to get together again, Michael. Really today is reflecting back to what had happened in on Christmas Eve, December 24th, when Mr. Ash Mufareh was made his appearance in one of the meeting, and it was live streamed everywhere, and it's been viewed over, hundreds of thousands times. So it's good to sit back and really reflect on what happened, and also, it is really important that Mr. Mufareh, you know, emphasizes the fact that we need to looking at things in the bigger pictures, and there is an importance why we need to look at things in the bigger picture. Mr. Ashmufara appearance on that very day was, of course, there are folks out there that expressing the fact that his appearance was a wish came true for many people who believe in Christmas spirit, right? And for a lot of people who have been staying close, staying plugged in, it is a reminder for the also for the people that kind of on the fence, not sure what happened. Um, the fact that Mr. Mash Mufara still there, he's still here with us, still commit to his mission and to the movement. It's important and it is something that I value very much so, Michael, because the head or the captain of the ship still here, still has a full commitment to all of us. So, what was your reflection? What would you get out of the meeting that we had, Michael?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was certainly great to see him, right? It's always good to see him, that he's in good health, that all is well with him and his family, first and foremost, right? I know we're all here for business and all of that, but sometimes we have to look beyond that, right? We have to make sure people are well, they're in good health, they're taking care of themselves, in spite of all that they have to do, right? It's no different than you have to get up every day, you have to go to your job. Certainly if you become sick, then how does that work for you and your family? So I think all of us can relate to being in good health. We want to be in good health, regardless of what our financial situation may be. So it certainly was good to see him, and to know all of that. Julie, I think, thousands of individuals, were very welcoming. To see that our CEO is still here with us and he's still fired up as ever before, that's important, because he is the leader. He is the one that's at the helm. And so, it's his vision, mission, all of that, right? And so we've locked arms with him, right, to help assist in making sure all of that becomes a reality. But it's always good, excuse me, it's always good to see the leader, right? So if you have a president or a prime minister of a country, and you never see them, you're always wondering, okay, are they still there? Are they okay? You know what I mean? What's going on and all of that stuff? That's just human nature. People's mind, wonder. So it certainly was good to see him, and it's good to know that the dream is alive, Julie. And that's what I keep sharing with people, is that the bottom line is, as long as you know when it's all said and done, we all win together. To me, that's the most important thing. As to how we get there, when we get there, all of that, to an extent, yes, it's important. Like no one wants to be here 40 years later and we're still working at it. Of course not, right? But we also have to be realistic when it comes to business as well, right? When we look back and we reflect and we see all that has transpired, we did have 2 years of COVID as well, right? So there's been lots of situations that have arisen over the years, but certainly the fight continues, and to see that our CEO is fully engaged, dealing with all that he has to deal with, etc. But I just love the fact that he was there. He was chirpy. It was it's like we used to him, right? Just the way we've been used to him and all these years, to see him coming with that great attitude, that positive attitude, that never die attitude. That's encouraging, right? And I think all of us should take encouragement from that. That he has not given up. He has not given up on not his dreams, on our dreams, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Right from the very beginning, this was, something that he wants for his legacy, right? This is what he wants to leave for all of us, right? To be able to give us something that we can walk away and hold our heads high, being very proud that we're a part of this movement. So yeah, I was excited to see him,
Mhm.
and it's always good to see him, right? Sometimes you talk on the phone, etc., but it's not the same when you physically see someone. Like you and I talk all the time, but it's
Mhm.
not the same, right? But when we actually see each other and we're talking, it makes a difference, right? So yeah, so it was great. Definitely was great, Julie.
Yes, and Christmas Eve, and we're heading toward the end of the year. It is always good to reflect, reflect back on what happened in the past years. And it was really good to see Mr. Mufareh really sitting down with us and reflect back on what happened in the past 6 years since 2018. The up and down during that year. And one thing that I recognize the fact how he is that he show up with he's going through these challenge, not with the fighter skills, not with things that like I'm battling, but he shows up with a certain kindness in him. The spirit in him is so high, and that was so important, Michael, because it's nice for you to show up, for you to talk the good things and the strong things, but when your spirit is down to, or when it is chaotic in your heart, it's very hard to really show up and show up certain kindness, spirit in you. And so something that I really appreciate watching him as well. In that meeting, he was really emphasizing the fact that it is very important for us to looking at the bigger picture. So today, Michael, you and I really delve into what does that mean by looking at the bigger picture. So why is it important for us to really looking at the bigger picture, Michael?
Oh, good question, Julie. Right? It's we have to look at the big picture, meaning look at the totality, right? Look at everything. Don't just look at one particular thing, right? Don't try to break it down, to micromanagement, right? Where you're just focused on just a tiny little piece of the puzzle, right? Look at the big picture, right? On Passive was designed to be a gigantic company, right? Because there's lots of dreams involved in that, right? This is not a company that says, okay, we want to just have 2 employees or want to help 10 people, or it isn't that. But how can we help billions, with a B, billions of people around the world? How can we do that, right? What can we put together that will help so many people beyond ourselves, beyond our country, beyond our continent, right? How can we do that? There's over 200 countries around the world. How can we get to the masses? How can we help them, Julie? Right. So that's what to look at the big picture. And so yes, individually you may have some folks that are feeling the pinch. You have some folks that may even be down and out, right? Financially, you know what I mean. And so we understand. Some people could have they're frustrated because of that, right? And if you can't pay your bills, you're not going to be a happy person, right? And we understand all of that because I think all of us are impacted in one way or another where that is concerned, right? But when we look at the big picture, when we look at the overall prize to be gained Julie, the rewards to be had. When we look at all of that and see that, you know what, whether it takes us another 90 days or another 6 months or whatever the case may be, as long as we finish the race and finish the race as winners, that's what matters. Like, this is not a 100-meter dash, right? This is not a 400-meter race. You know what I mean? This is a marathon, right? Life itself is a marathon. So you want to have a business that's going to be there for life, Julie. Not a business that, oh, I'm going to make a couple bucks here and there and okay, all right, on to the next thing. No, you want to have something that is there for a lifetime. We talk about creating legacies, family dynasties, all these things that we've spoken of, right? And that's what we're looking for, Julie. That's the big picture. The big picture is, how can I have something in place that's going to take care of myself, my family, right? And then if I'm no longer here, continues to take care of my family. It's going to help my children's children. You know, that's what we're talking about. So how can we put together something that is that long term, Julie? It's important. A lot of people like to just look at the short term or the immediate gratification, right? That's not what On Passive is about or was ever about, right? It was about how can we put something together that's going to uplift humanity, not help humanity for a minute, right? But how can we put something in place that's going to be there, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, be there long term for people so that they can benefit, so they can get out of that rat race, Julie, so they can get out of that financial rut, right? That's what On Passive is about. And so if we're looking at that big picture, then, you know, when we reflect and look back at the past 6.5 years, for those who've been there from the very beginning, right? There's a lot more than 6.5 years in the future of rewards to be had, right? So we know that's coming. So if it takes you, you know, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever the case may be, but then you have this business, Julie, that is providing for you and your family 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Like, isn't that more important? When you think of people when they go to work, right? And they work for usually, say, 40 years, then they retire, right? Somebody starts at age 25, they retire at age 65, okay? All the plans for retirement, it's not about, well, I'm going to work, you know, for 1 year and then retire. That's not the reality for the majority of people. Most people are out there working 40 years plus, Julie, and then they're looking forward to retirement, right? And so with On Passive, no, it's not about we're going to be building this business for 40 years and then look for the rewards at the end of that, right? But if it takes us 6.5 years, 7 years, 7.5 years, you understand? And we still have another 10, 20, 30, 40 years of receiving benefits year after year after year, that's the big picture to me, right? Can this really impact a significant amount of people around the globe? Can this business actually do that for them? Can it help people do what they can't do, right? Which is to have something that is actually working for them, Julie. You know what I mean? Most people can't work for themselves, meaning they can't start a business, they can't build the business, right? But if you have a company that's putting together all the tools that you need to make sure that happens for you so that you win in the end, that's the big picture, right? It's not the little steps that's involved, right? But it's the totality, right? Because if I'm going on a journey, right, there are steps involved, right? I have to drive down this, you know, get up my driveway, go down the main road, get to the highway, from the highway, get onto another highway, and so on and so forth, right? All these different steps. I can't just focus on just coming out of my driveway. You know what I mean? I can't just focus on looking and see, okay, there's a lot of snow in my driveway. You know, how do I get from the driveway to the road? You know what I mean? That's just a little part of that journey. Okay. But I want to look at the totality of all the different roads I have to take to get to my end goal, wherever I'm trying to get to, Julie. Right? That's the big picture. And if the majority of that journey is going to be clear, then that's all that matters. But sometimes you get little obstacles in the way, right? Sometimes there's a roadblock. I got to go around that. It's got a detour, etc. But I still get to my destination. That's the big picture, is getting to our destination.
Exactly, Michael. And you know what? You took 10, 15 minutes talking, answering that question. That is actually the that is a key point for this conversation. You have included everything in that answer. And you know, the goal here is for us to create a long term, a successful business, right? Mr. Mufareh not just wanting to create a business that is a term gain. He wants to create a long term and sustainable business. And that's a reason why everything happened within the past 6 years. Things that happen, the challenges that happen, is all by design. And he had mentioned several times he's thankful that it is happened now, because at the beginning of the business it happened now. And that's why it is so important to looking at things in the bigger picture. When we are looking at, our business in a bigger picture, it's not just now, it's not just one time, it's a constant things that working, that we need to do. We need to look at the our business in the bigger picture. We need to pivot, because, and especially Michael, in this time of the year, or this season, or whatever you call technology, it's so important. And we are in the technology, information technology business. We have to make constant change, constant pivoting around the business, because it is so evolving. And in order for us to have a successful and sustainable business, absolutely we need to looking at the business, or the things that we are doing in the bigger picture in our own life. We need to looking at our life in the bigger picture. Things that happen in our life, I don't believe that it is permanently. It is temporarily, no matter what. When we have our success, we have to really looking at our success in the bigger pictures. We have to plan. We have to really plan ahead of time. And so now I believe, Michael, that we are not so busy in the business that we are involving in, but that this is the time where we have to sit down, looking at, reflect on our life, and looking at our life in the bigger pictures, not just business, Michael.
No, you're right. I mean, this is the time of year that people normally do that, right? In a couple days, everyone's going to have their New Year's resolution all lined up and all of that good stuff, right? And unfortunately, for most people, those resolutions, they last, maybe a month or two, and then they forget about it and they move on to something else, right? But that's not what we want for our business, right? We don't want to be thinking about our business for a month or two and then, we're thinking about something else, right? We certainly want to be able to, have something that is meaningful, Julie, something that's meaningful, right? It's like going to a job and you're just going through the motions. You don't like being there, you don't enjoy what you do, but you show up because, you know what, I have to pay the bills, so I show up and I do it, right? There's a difference between that versus you just can't wait to get up in the morning because you can't wait to get to that job, whatever it is. You can't wait to be there to, whether it's the people, whether it's the work itself, right? And there are some folks who are experiencing that. There are some people who they just can't wait to get up in the morning, right? I mean, think about sometimes maybe you have a big trip planned. You go on a vacation, right? And the night before you leave, like you just, it's like you can't sleep because you can't wait to get out the house and get to the airport and all of that fancy stuff, right? You just can't wait. And so to me, it's the same idea that when you engage in a business and you really enjoy the business, you really enjoy the people. Case in point, coming on here with you, right? Okay, it's something that we enjoy doing. We enjoy having these conversations, Julie. So we look forward to it. It's not like, oh boy, oh, I gotta go sit down with Julie again. Oh my gosh, whoa. You know what I mean? No, it's more like, yeah, okay, let's go. What are we gonna talk about today, Julie? What's gonna be our conversation? What's our topic? Right? It's something that we look forward to, right? I remember when people were coming to Unpassive webinars, right? People were looking forward to coming to the webinars, the engagements, right? And you still have webinars going on right now that people are engaged in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they look forward to that. You understand? They look forward to that camaraderie, getting together, whether it be from a social standpoint or just being together to empower and encourage each other, right? So you have all that's going on because again, we still have a lot of negativity in this world, a lot of bad things happening in this world. I was just talking to someone this morning, and they're telling me about what's going on in their country. How it's just bad right now. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of unrest that's going on and gang activity and all this crazy stuff. And I'm thinking about myself and I'm saying, we don't even have that to worry about. Not saying that where we are is perfect, certainly not. I'm sure there are, Probably somebody died today somewhere in the country. You know what I mean? But the reality is that, we don't have those issues. We don't have to worry about curfews and all these things. And some people have to worry about that. Some people have to worry about, getting up and just going from point A to point B. And that's a challenge, hoping and praying that they'll be able to get back home safely, right? So there's all these things that people have to go through. But when they come together, though, when it come together about on passive, people are excited, right? People, get on a webinar and they don't want to leave, Julie, right? They want to stay, right? Again, because they like the company, right? It's all about the people, right? No matter what business you're in, it's always about the people, right? If you love the people that you work with, you're going to enjoy yourself, right? So that's when we come together with our CEO, for example, as you mentioned last week. Those who were on the panel, okay, they enjoyed the company, right?
Yes.
And those who were watching, okay, enjoyed the fact that they can see not just him, but see the others that were there, and to be able to just take part in that excitement, knowing that we still have a future, Julie. We still have something that's going to bring fruits, right? Because that's important to people. What's the point in being here if that's not going to happen?
Mhm.
There's no point. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have a business, but we are here. Why? Because we know the reality of the situation, Julie. We know the reality that, yes, right, people are going to win with on passive. There's no doubt about that, right? And so we take comfort in that fact. So we're always looking at the big picture, understanding that, yes, um, you know, there's obstacles, there's issues, there's valleys, there's highs, there's lows. There's all these different things. People go through a lot of emotions, all of that. But at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, when you start to shine, when you start to enjoy the rewards, how are you going to feel then? You're going to forget about all that has transpired, all that have brought you to where you are now. It's just like your life, Julie, right? Sometimes you may look back and say, "Oh man, when I was a teenager, I did this or I did that or I got into trouble or whatever the case is, right? Or when I was 25, this happened to me and so on and so forth, right? Or I lost this job and what I mean, or I was fired, or whatever. I got a bad grade in school, or what I mean. There's just when we look back at our lives, we can see that everything wasn't a bed of roses. You know what I mean? All wasn't great. But then we look at ourselves today, and then we also look at what we've accomplished over that time period as well, right? So it's not always bad news. You know what I mean? There's good and there's bad. And in some cases, there's even ugly, right? Nobody likes ugly. You know what I mean? And so, but that's all part of life, though. It really is. Think of the challenges that some people have had before they were even able to migrate to another country. They may have been in a situation where it wasn't good in their country, their country of birth, for example, right? And then they're able to now immigrate out of that situation, right? To a better place, a better way of life for themselves and their family, right? So we can always reflect, Julie, no matter how old we are, whether we're 20 years old, whether we're 50 years old, whether we're 80 years old, we can always reflect and see our life journey and what we had to go through to get to where we are today, right? And certainly, I know I'm thankful and grateful for where we are because it makes a difference to appreciate what you have right now. And what we have, Julie, is still hope. What
Very.
we have is still something that's going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives around the world. That still exists. So I'm grateful for that, Julie, because if you don't have hope, what do you really have, right? What do you really have? Just, going through life existing, right? As opposed to actually living and enjoying yourself. People want to enjoy themselves. People love a good party, Julie, right? And so Unpassive will be one big party as we move forward into the new year.
Absolutely, Michael. One more point that I want to bring up to Michael, when we are looking at the importance of, our business, looking at it in a bigger picture, there's challenge, there's things that we need to change, to adjust, to pivot around. The one thing that I really appreciate Mr. Ashmufara is, no matter the challenges that he faced, he'd never forfeit his values or the vision. I'm sorry if I didn't use that term correctly, but he's not giving up or adjusting his vision, in focusing on what he wants. It's still there. It still bring the best opportunity to for people, for them to be the best version of themselves, lifting up people, still there. All that values in his vision still there. It doesn't go away. And also in our life too, Michael, we're making the changes, we're looking at the bigger pictures, we're adjusting things, but we're not forfeiting the values that we have. And that's one thing that I see in Mr. Mufareh that I really appreciate. That vision, that mission still there, still intact, still together, and stronger every single day, on the way how he deals with other people, how the connections with other people still strong, no matter the challenges that he faces. That's one thing I really appreciate, Michael.
Yeah, definitely, Julie. Because a lot of people compromise their values as they move on through life,
Compromise, that's a
right?
word.
Yep, right. A lot of people do, and to me, if a value is important to you, you're gonna hold on to it no matter what, right? No matter what the challenge is, no matter what comes your way, you're gonna hold on to that, and you're not going to compromise. You're not going to change. You're not going to say, well, okay, all right, okay, I succumb to whatever the issue is. No, you're gonna hold on. You're gonna stand up for what you believe in, right? Stand up for what you believe is right, and no matter what, whether it's threats or whatever that's there in front of you, you're just not going to give into it, right? You're just not going to give into it, right? And so we know our CEO is strong for that because there's a lot of weight on his shoulders, Julie. You know what I mean? When you think about it, if we can just put ourselves in his shoes for a minute, right? Not for a day, not for a month, not for a year, just a minute, right? And just think of all that is going on, right? Think of all the weight of just knowing that, listen, I came out, I want to be able to help millions upon millions of people. I want to change people's lives, all these things, right? And so you have that weight, if you wish, right? Because you want to see that come to fruition. You want to see that come to pass. You want to see that being fulfilled. You want to see the joy in people's faces, right? When they start to receive those types of benefits that have a big impact in a positive way in their lives, right? You want to see all of that. So it is a lot of weight. There's no doubt about that because it's not something that is simple, Julie. If it was simple, it would have been done a long time ago, right? There's a lot of trust involved. You have to have the right people. You have to be able to trust individuals that we're all trying to move in the same direction, right? If I care about you, Julie, I'm not going to do anything to harm you. I'm not going to put you in a bad situation. I'm going to do everything in my power to help you, right? And so you have some folks who actually care about people. Mr. Ashmafar is one of those individuals that he actually care about people, and so he wants the best for every single one of us, right? And so, when you hold on to that value, Julie, when you hold on to that, you know what? No, I'm not going to just put something out there just for putting it out there, just to appease people, right? I want to put the very best, right? I want to give us something that will not break down. I want to give us something that is going to last. It's going to stand the test of time. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to put forward, right? And so, like you said, the best version of yourself. So also the best version of your products, services, etc. Right? You have a system. You want the best version of it, right? Why wouldn't you? Why would you want something that's a replica? Why would you want something that is fake or something that is not real, right? You want the real thing, right? And so as we look at the big picture, Julie, right? That's part of it, right? Part of it is, the values that's coming forth, right? And so he continues to hold on to his values because of the mission vision that's in his mind that he wants to bring to the table and bring to the world, right? And so we salute him for that. And we certainly continue to lock arms with him for that because that is a lofty value. It's a value that's very important and it's well worth the wait, Julie. Absolutely. So we'll continue to press forward because the big picture makes a big difference in people's minds.
Absolutely, Michael. There you have it, everyone. This is the importance of why we need to look at things in the bigger picture, either in business or in our personal life as well,
Yeah.
as we heading toward the end of 2024. Congratulations for all of us, and especially to our CEO, Mr. Ash Mufareh, and the closest team that he's working with, we have survived 2024.
Yes.
We survived. So congratulations to all of us, and looking forward 2025. Both Michael and I wish you all the best. It's going to be a great years to come.
All the best, everyone. All the best.
God bless and take care, everyone. See you next week. See you in a year. I'm kidding. Take care, everyone. Stay well.